Eli Turner had never seen anything like Ceridian 7. The planet glowed faintly under its twin suns, and the spaceport buzzed with energy. Ships of every shape and size landed and took off, and aliens of all colors, shapes, and sizes moved through the crowds. Eli, a young human engineer, had spent most of his life fixing machines on Earth, but this was different. Here, he was a small part of a vast universe, surrounded by wonders he had only read about in books. He wiped his hands on a rag, squinting against the sunlight reflecting off the metal panels of the docking bay. His latest task was simple: clean the area around Docking Bay 9 so that the next cargo freighter could land safely. It was routine work, and Eli liked routine. He liked knowing exactly what to do and doing it well. But as he moved toward the far corner, he noticed something unusual. A figure stood near one of the newer ships, tall and striking, her armor gleaming despite layers of dust and space grime. She was unlike any being Eli had seen. Her skin was a pale lavender, and her eyes were deep silver. Her movements were graceful, almost deliberate, and the sunlight bounced off her armor in a way that made it shine faintly even under the dust. Eli froze for a moment, unsure whether he should approach or keep his distance. The rational part of his mind said, "Don't touch anything. It's not yours." But the practical side, the part that loved fixing and cleaning, spoke louder. That armor deserved to shine. Eli grabbed a clean cloth and approached cautiously, making sure to keep his hands visible. "Excuse me," he said politely. "I can, clean that for you. It's dusty and I have the right materials." The alien woman turned slowly, her silver eyes meeting his. For a moment she didn't speak. Eli felt his face warm under her gaze. Then she tilted her head slightly as if examining him. "You may," she said finally, her voice smooth and melodic, "if you wish." Eli nodded quickly and got to work. He started wiping the dust from her shoulder plates, careful to avoid scratches or smudges. As he worked, he marveled at the craftsmanship. The armor was intricate with swirling patterns that seemed to shift in the sunlight. It was not just protective gear, it was art. He moved methodically, polishing each section until it gleamed. The cloth glided over the surface, and he felt a quiet satisfaction as the metal brightened under his touch. The alien stood perfectly still, her posture dignified, watching him silently. Eli assumed this was normal behavior for her species. Perhaps they liked to observe while someone performed a task for them. A few minutes passed, and Eli stepped back to admire his work. The armor now shone like new, reflecting the twin suns in shimmering patterns. He smiled, proud of the result. "That's done," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. The alien woman paused. She tilted her head, and for a moment the space around them seemed to quiet. Even the distant hum of engines felt muted. She looked at Eli, her silver eyes piercing, and then spoke. "Do you know what that means?" Eli's stomach sank. He hadn't thought about meaning. He had only wanted to clean the armor. Now he realized he might have committed a cultural faux pas. I'm not sure," he admitted. "I just thought it needed cleaning." Her expression didn't change, but her gaze softened slightly. "It is not just cleaning," she said. "Polishing my armor is a gesture reserved for certain occasions. It carries meaning beyond what your species may understand." Eli swallowed nervously. He had read about alien customs before, but nothing had prepared him for this. "I didn't mean any disrespect," he said quickly. I like to make things shine." The alien studied him for a long moment, then her lips curved into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "Intent matters," she said. "Your intent is clear and it is appreciated, but you must learn what it signifies." Eli nodded eagerly. "I want to learn, please teach me." Her eyes softened further and she stepped away from the ship, gesturing toward the bustling port. "Come," she said. "There is much you do not know, but first you must observe." Eli followed her, his heart racing with excitement and nervousness. As they walked, he noticed the reactions of others around them. Some aliens glanced curiously at the human who had dared to touch the ceremonial armor of a Ceridian envoy. Some smiled quietly, and others whispered among themselves. Eli felt both embarrassed and proud. He had no idea what he had done, but it seemed to matter. They stopped at a platform overlooking the spaceport. From there, Eli could see the diversity of beings that populated Ceridian 7. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved in harmony, conducting trade, repairing ships, and sharing knowledge. It was a living tapestry of life, a place where cooperation was necessary for survival. "Watch carefully," the alien said. "Everything has meaning here." A gesture, a glance, even the way you hold a tool can carry significance. Eli nodded, trying to absorb every detail. He noticed how a small gesture, a bow of the head, a careful placement of a hand, could communicate respect or friendship. He realized that his accidental polishing of her armor was not merely an action. It was a statement in this complex social world. Over the next hour, the alien explained small parts of her culture to Eli. She spoke of honor, respect, and the importance of observation. She described how the Ceridian people used gestures and rituals to build trust, strengthen alliances, and resolve conflicts without violence. Eli listened intently, fascinated by the depth of their customs. At one point she paused and asked, "Do humans have similar gestures of respect?" Eli thought for a moment. "We have many. We shake hands, bow sometimes, exchange gifts, but nothing quite like polishing someone's armor." He laughed softly, realizing how odd it must sound to her. She tilted her head, her silver eyes thoughtful. "Intent and care are universal," she said. "The method differs, but the meaning can be understood by those who observe closely." Eli felt a surge of pride. Maybe humans could fit into this interstellar community after all. He was learning, slowly but surely, how to connect across species, and that gave him hope. As the suns began to dip lower, casting long shadows across the port, the alien turned to him. "You have done well today," she said. "Your curiosity is a gift. Many would not have dared to act without knowing the meaning, yet you acted with sincerity. That matters more than you know." Eli smiled, feeling warmth spread through him. "Thank you. I hope I can continue to learn from you." She nodded, her expression serious but not unkind. "If you wish, you may, but remember, actions have consequences. Always observe first, act second. Intent alone is not always enough." They spent the next hour walking through the spaceport. Eli asked questions about ships, about trade, and about life on Ceridian 7. The alien answered patiently, sometimes teasing him gently when his questions were clumsy or naive. He laughed more than he had in months, and he realized that despite the strangeness of this place, he felt at home. By the time they returned to Docking Bay 9, Eli understood something profound. Small acts like polishing armor could carry weight far beyond what he imagined. He had made a mistake in ignorance, but he had also created an opportunity to learn, to connect, and to grow. Kalira, the alien woman, paused one last time before boarding her ship. "Remember this day," she said softly, "not because of the polishing, but because of your willingness to learn." Eli watched as her ship lifted into the sky, reflecting the twin suns in its polished surfaces. He felt a spark of determination. One day, he would understand fully, not just the gestures of Ceridian 7, but the myriad ways humans could make their mark among the stars. He returned to his work with renewed energy, cleaning and repairing, knowing that every action had meaning and that every choice could shape the future. And somewhere in the bustling port, he felt a quiet pride. He was a human in a vast universe, and despite his small size, he could make a difference, one sincere action at a time. As night fell on Ceridian 7, Eli leaned against a railing, gazing at the stars above. The sky was alive with ships and lights, and he realized that learning, understanding, and kindness could bridge worlds. He had started the day with a simple task, cleaning. But he ended it with something far greater, a glimpse of what it meant to connect, to respect, and to belong. And somewhere, he knew, Kalira was watching too, perhaps smiling at the human who had polished her armor without knowing what it meant, yet had proven himself worthy of learning. Eli woke early the next day, the memory of Kalira's words still vivid in his mind. Her advice had stirred something in him, a mix of curiosity, pride, and a strange, nervous excitement. Today, he thought, he would continue learning. But unlike yesterday, he wouldn't wait for an accidental opportunity. He would actively seek it. The spaceport was quieter in the early morning. Fewer ships had landed, and most travelers were still inside the sprawling docking terminals. Eli made his way to Docking Bay 9, hoping to see Kalira again. Perhaps she had returned, or perhaps another envoy would arrive. Either way, he wanted to practice his understanding, to observe and act carefully this time. As he rounded the corner, he spotted her, or at least, a figure in familiar lavender armor moving near a sleek, silver ship. His heart leapt. Kalira seemed to notice him as well. She paused, her silver eyes meeting his from across the dock. She raised a hand in greeting and Eli waved eagerly. "Good morning, Eli," she said, her voice as calm and melodic as yesterday. "I see you have not slept long." "I didn't sleep much," he admitted, walking closer. "I kept thinking about what you said, about observing before acting." She studied him for a moment. "Observation is only useful if you understand what you see. Curiosity is good, but knowledge makes it powerful." Eli nodded. "Then I want to learn. About your people, your customs, everything." Kalira smiled faintly. "Everything is too much for one day, but we can start small." She gestured to a nearby platform where several Ceridian citizens were gathered. Eli followed, feeling both excitement and anxiety. He was a human among aliens who had lived in this world far longer than he had. The first lesson began quietly. Kalira introduced him to basic gestures of respect. Bowing, positioning of hands, even the tilt of the head, all small movements carried meaning. Eli tried to mimic each one, sometimes awkwardly. When he fumbled, Kalira corrected him gently, never mocking, only guiding. "You see, Eli," she explained, "every action communicates. A gesture can calm, welcome, or honor. Sometimes it can even prevent misunderstandings." Eli's brow furrowed. "So, my polishing yesterday, it could have been misunderstood." "Yes," she said. "Yet because your intent was pure, it was received as an honest gesture." "That is fortunate." He felt a mixture of relief and pride. What had begun as a simple mistake had turned into a lesson in diplomacy and respect. He realized humans, too, had gestures of meaning, though they were often simpler. Perhaps that simplicity was why other species sometimes misunderstood them. Kalira then guided him through the next step, communication beyond words. In Ceridian culture, silence was as meaningful as speech. A pause could indicate agreement, respect, or contemplation. A gaze could express curiosity, doubt, or amusement. Eli listened and watched carefully. He found it fascinating that a world could be so expressive without constant conversation. Hours passed in this careful, deliberate observation. Eli learned to watch body language, the rhythm of movement, and even the subtle changes in tone when someone spoke. He realized that yesterday, he had acted well not because he knew the rules, but because he had truly cared. That sincerity had bridged the gap between human and Ceridian culture. As mid-morning arrived, Kalira led him to the central training hall. The room was vast and circular, with high ceilings and polished floors. Other envoys and citizens were present, practicing their skills or performing routines of honor and discipline. Here, Eli noticed something remarkable. Each movement was precise and beautiful, almost like a dance. But unlike a dance, each motion had a purpose, a meaning in their daily life and in diplomacy. "Today," Kalira said, "you will practice a gesture of alliance." Eli's stomach tightened. "A gesture of alliance?" "Yes," she said, smiling faintly. "It is a formal gesture, rarely performed. yet it will help you understand the depth of our communication. Watch first." She moved gracefully, raising her hand and bowing slightly, then touching a small emblem on her chest plate. Another envoy mirrored her actions, and Eli observed closely. He saw the mutual respect, the trust conveyed without a single word. When she finished, she turned to him. "Your turn," she said. Eli hesitated. He remembered the polishing, how a simple action had carried meaning he didn't understand. He concentrated, breathing slowly, and repeated her gestures. His bow was slightly stiff, and his hand trembled as he reached for the emblem. Kalira's eyes softened, and she adjusted his posture gently, guiding his hand. "Better," she said. "Intent, posture, and timing, all three matter. You are learning quickly." Eli felt a surge of confidence. Maybe humans could indeed fit here. With care, curiosity, and sincerity, they could be more than visitors. They could be respected allies. They practiced for hours, and gradually, Eli's movements became smoother, more natural. He felt a quiet pride with each small improvement. Kalira offered praise sparingly, which made it feel more meaningful when she did. After the practice session, Kalira led him to the observation deck. Below, the port teemed with life. Aliens moved about, ships docked and launched, and traders exchanged goods with gestures and glances. Eli watched, noting every subtle motion, every small interaction. He tried to imagine what meaning each gesture might carry, and he felt a sense of wonder at the depth of this world. "Observation alone is not enough," Kalira said. "You must understand context. A gesture is only meaningful when placed correctly in time and space." Eli nodded. "I think I understand. It's like storytelling without words." Kalira tilted her head. "Yes, every movement tells a story. Every choice communicates something. And just like stories, they can be misunderstood if not performed with care." They spent the afternoon exploring the market district. Kalira introduced him to merchants, traders, and artisans. She explained the significance of their work, the respect they earned, and the relationships they maintained. Eli marveled at the diversity, creatures with 6 limbs, wings, even bioluminescent skin. Each had its own culture, yet they coexisted peacefully. At a stall selling ornamental devices, Eli picked up a small, shining object. Kalira's eyes twinkled as she explained its purpose. "This is a gift for a visitor. A human who learns our ways may be offered one to honor their sincerity and curiosity." Eli held it carefully, feeling its weight and polish. It reminded him of the armor he had cleaned yesterday. Small actions, he realized, could create bridges between species. That thought filled him with a quiet pride. Later, they paused at a quiet cafe overlooking the landing docks. Kalira offered him a beverage, a sparkling liquid that smelled faintly of sweet herbs. Eli took a cautious sip and smiled. "Delicious," he said. She nodded. "Taste is also communication. The choice of flavors, the manner of serving, it is all part of understanding." Eli laughed softly. "Everything here has meaning." "Yes," she said. "And humans often overlook the details. Yet you notice. That is why you have promise." As the twin suns began to set, casting long shadows across the spaceport, Kalira guided him back toward the ship. "Tomorrow," she said, "we will explore the festival. There you will see the full expression of culture and gesture. You must observe carefully, for it will be more complex than today." Eli nodded, his excitement barely contained. "I'll be ready." She paused at the entrance to her ship and looked at him. "Remember, Eli. Curiosity is good. Sincerity is better. But understanding is the greatest gift you can offer." He watched as she boarded her ship and lifted off gracefully, the polished metal reflecting the fading light. Eli stood for a long moment, feeling both humbled and inspired. Today had been more than lessons in gestures. It had been a journey in patience, attention, and empathy. That night, Eli returned to his quarters, exhausted but exhilarated. He reviewed every detail of the day, practicing gestures in the mirror, thinking through every lesson Kalira had given him. He realized that learning was not a matter of speed, but of care. A single action could ripple through relationships and perceptions in ways he had never imagined. As he drifted to sleep, he pictured the festival Kalira had mentioned. He imagined the dances, the gestures, the flowing movement of the Ceridian people. And he felt a sense of anticipation. He would not make the same mistakes again. He would observe, learn, and act with care. And perhaps, one day, he would create his own gestures that could communicate humanity's intent and sincerity to the stars. Eli knew one thing for certain. The universe was far larger and more complex than he had ever imagined. Yet, through curiosity, respect, and the willingness to learn, he could find his place. And maybe, just maybe, his simple human heart could shine as brightly as the polished armor of a Ceridian envoy. The next morning, the air in the spaceport felt different, almost electric. Eli could sense excitement everywhere. Today was the day of the festival Kalira had mentioned, a celebration of culture, friendship, and unity among the Ceridian people and their allies. He had been waiting for this day since yesterday, replaying every lesson Kalira had taught him in his mind. He knew he had to observe carefully and act with care. He arrived at Docking Bay 9 early, carrying a small satchel of tools and supplies. The sun shone brightly on the polished metal surfaces of the ships, and the port was already alive with movement. Aliens of all kinds were setting up stalls, decorations, and performance areas. Music filled the air, soft at first, then gradually swelling into a lively rhythm. Eli felt a mixture of nerves and excitement. Kalira arrived shortly after him, her armor shining more brilliantly than ever, reflecting the sunlight in a dazzling display. She noticed Eli immediately and gave him a nod of approval. "You are here early," she said, her silver eyes warm. "I wanted to be ready," Eli replied. "I don't want to make mistakes today," she smiled faintly. "Good. Today you will see the depth of our culture. Remember what I taught you, observe, understand, and act with intent." Together, they moved into the heart of the festival. The main square was vast, filled with elaborate decorations, glowing banners, and intricate displays of art and craft. Aliens of all shapes and sizes were performing dances, playing instruments, and demonstrating their skills. The entire scene was vibrant and alive, yet Eli could see the underlying order and meaning in every movement. Kalira guided him carefully, pointing out gestures, exchanges, and interactions. "Notice how they greet one another," she said. "Even a simple nod carries meaning. Watch the rhythm, the timing, and the positioning. Everything is deliberate." Eli followed her instructions closely, his eyes scanning the crowd. He began to recognize patterns. A slight bow indicated respect, a touch on the arm showed trust, and a hand extended with the palm upward was a sign of offering and friendship. He realized that these gestures were like a language, unspoken, but understood by all within the culture. At one point, Kalira led him to a group of artisans demonstrating their crafts. One alien was shaping a glowing crystal, while another arranged floating metal strands into intricate patterns. Each movement was precise, almost like a dance. Eli watched, fascinated, noting how patience, skill, and intention were woven into every action. "You see," Kalira said, "every action communicates. A gesture can honor, instruct, or create connection. Humans often overlook such details, but you notice. That is why you have promise." Eli felt a swell of pride. He had never considered his attentiveness a gift, but here, it mattered. His curiosity, patience, and willingness to learn had opened doors that might have remained closed. As the festival continued, Eli observed more complex rituals. A group of Ceridian citizens performed a synchronized movement, passing a glowing orb among themselves. Each motion symbolized unity, trust, and shared responsibility. Eli watched closely, trying to understand the rhythm and meaning. "Would you like to try?" Kalira asked, her voice gentle. Eli hesitated. The orb was small, glowing softly, and he could sense the weight of its significance. He remembered his polishing mistake, the care and respect it had required. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward, imitating the movements as best as he could. Kalira guided his hands, corrected his posture, and reminded him of the meaning behind each gesture. When he successfully passed the orb without error, Kalira nodded approvingly. "Well done," she said. "Intent, understanding, and observation, you have applied all three. This is rare for one unfamiliar with our customs." Eli beamed. The orb glowed brighter for a moment, and he felt a quiet warmth spread through him. This small success meant more than he could express. It was a confirmation that humans could connect with other species through sincerity, care, and attention to detail. After the orb ritual, they moved to the food stalls. Kalira introduced him to traditional dishes, each served with careful attention to presentation and taste. Eli marveled at the flavors, sweet, savory, and fragrant, all perfectly balanced. He realized that food, like gestures, carried meaning. It was a way to honor guests, show care, and share culture. "You notice details," Kalira said as Eli sampled a delicate pastry. "That is why you understand. Humans may be clumsy in gesture, but their intent is often true. That truth is recognized across species." Eli laughed softly. "I hope I'm doing more right than wrong." "You are," she assured him. "Sincerity outweighs perfection. Today you will see why that matters." The afternoon brought the highlight of the festival, a ceremonial performance that symbolized the unity of all species at Ceridian 7. Eli watched in awe as dancers, musicians, and artisans combined their talents into a magnificent display. Each movement, note, and gesture carried layers of meaning, history, respect, and shared purpose. Eli felt like he was witnessing something sacred. Kalira guided him to the front of the audience. "Watch carefully. Later, you will participate. Remember everything you have learned, the gestures, the intent, and the meaning behind each action." Eli's heart raced. Participating in a ritual of this significance was both exhilarating and intimidating. He focused on every detail, noting the rhythm, the timing, and the interactions. When the moment came for him to join, he stepped forward with care, following Kalira's guidance. At first, his movements were tentative, but as he continued, he found a rhythm. His gestures became more confident, more natural, and Kalira's subtle corrections helped him align perfectly with the others. He could feel the connection growing, not just with Kalira, but with the entire assembly. Each participant's intent merged with his own, creating a sense of unity he had never experienced before. When the performance ended, the crowd erupted in applause, not just for skill, but for the sincerity and participation of every individual. Eli felt a rush of joy and pride. He had taken part in something larger than himself, and his actions had been accepted, appreciated, and celebrated. Afterward, Kalira led him to a quiet terrace overlooking the port. The sun was setting, casting warm golden light over the scene. Ships glowed softly, music lingered in the air, and the entire port seemed alive with energy. "You have done well today," she said, her silver eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. "You have observed, learned, and acted with sincerity. That is rare for one so new to our ways." Eli smiled. "Thank you, I couldn't have done it without your guidance." Kalira nodded. "Intent and guidance can open doors, but remember, Eli, it is the heart that matters most." Sincerity, curiosity, and a willingness to understand, those are the traits that build bridges between worlds. Eli felt a warmth in his chest. He realized that humans, despite their small size and limited knowledge compared to advanced civilizations, could make meaningful contributions through empathy, sincerity, and effort. It was a lesson that extended far beyond rituals or gestures. It was a lesson about humanity itself. As night fell, Eli helped Kalira and the other envoys tidy up the festival grounds. He polished small details, adjusted decorations, and ensured everything was in order. Each task, though simple, was performed with care and attention, and Kalira observed silently, occasionally nodding in approval. When the work was done, Kalira approached him. "Eli, today you have earned a place among those who understand. Your actions, your curiosity, and your sincerity have created a connection that transcends language, species, and culture." Eli felt a mixture of pride and humility. "I just wanted to do the right thing," he said. "And that is exactly why you succeeded," Kalira replied. "The desire to do good, to act with care, and to learn, these are qualities that will carry you far among the stars. That is what makes humans remarkable." Eli looked around the bustling port, the colorful lights, and the peaceful interactions of countless species. He realized that the universe was vast, complex, and full of challenges. Yet, with curiosity, empathy, and sincerity, even a single human could leave a meaningful mark. As Kalira prepared to depart, she handed him a small token, a polished crystal shaped like a star. "This is a gift," she said, "a symbol of connection, understanding, and trust. Keep it as a reminder of today." Eli held the crystal carefully, feeling its smooth surface and weight. He understood its meaning. It was more than a gift, it was acknowledgement. Recognition of his sincerity, curiosity, and willingness to learn. "Thank you," he said softly. "I'll treasure it." Kalira smiled faintly and stepped onto her ship. With a graceful lift, the vessel ascended, reflecting the light of the twin suns and the glow of the festival lights below. Eli watched until she disappeared into the night sky, feeling a quiet sense of fulfillment. He returned to his quarters, the crystal in his hand, reflecting on the day's lessons. He had started as a curious human, unsure of customs and meaning. Through observation, sincerity, and willingness to learn, he had connected with a culture far beyond his own. He had made friends, gained respect, and discovered the power of small, meaningful actions. As he drifted to sleep, he held the crystal close. Tomorrow, he thought, there would be more to learn, more to observe, and more opportunities to act with care. But tonight, he felt a deep sense of pride. He was human, yes, but he was also capable of bridging worlds, of creating connections, and of leaving a mark on the vast tapestry of the universe. And somewhere above Ceridian 7, Kalira watched too, knowing that a small act of sincerity had grown into something far greater, a bond that would endure across worlds and time. Eli smiled in his sleep, dreaming of polished armor, glowing crystals, and the endless possibilities of the stars.